Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Becky Robinson. I'm the founder and CEO of Weaving Influence, and we'll be getting started in just a few minutes. As you're coming in, I hope you'll take a moment to find the chat. We love to interact with you throughout our webinar events as a place where you can ask questions or make comments. And so what I would encourage you to do is use the drop-down menu to select everyone so that everyone on the webinar can see your comments. And could you give me a shout out and let me know where you're calling in from today? I am in my home office in Lambertville, Michigan, and we're expecting this big blizzard. You know, they've been talking about anywhere from 10 to 22 inches of snow, but it's really just starting here. It's a little bit late. Hey, Betty, welcome. Good to see you. Do you guys have any snow out your way in St. Louis? Brenda, I know you got snow in Illinois.
Right.
I'm so thrilled today also to have with me Carolyn Byard. Carolyn is a friend and collaborator. And tell us about the weather in Indianapolis, Indiana. Is it snowing there?
Well, it's funny because all the schools called off today expecting for an insane amount of snow, but it's like 40 degrees and raining. I think it is supposed to get pretty bad tonight and tomorrow. I think we're supposed to get like 12 to 14 inches tomorrow throughout the day. So we'll see.
Well, I hope you stay safe. We have a lot to cover today, so we're going to dive in. Great to see so many friends on the call, a few new names, but I'm really glad that you've chosen to invest some time with us. Before we go any further, I do want to let you know Carolyn Byard is the owner of Sparkified, and she's the senior marketing manager at Miller Diversified. And Carolyn is the person who did the post-production on my book trailer. So I invited her today so that we could talk a little bit about the process of putting together a book trailer. And what I want to do first, though, is to ask you a few questions in the poll about book trailers. And I have a it looks like I have one question. And then maybe some more questions. So it looks like we had a little bit of difficulty with this technology today, but if you can answer the first question, how often do you watch a book trailer before buying a book? We would love to see your feedback on that question. And if you want to answer the second question, that you can do that too, but there aren't any there are not any like questions or responses. And I'll just give you a few moments as you answer that poll. It's maybe making you answer both polls before you can move on.
Ooh, what will people pick? Choice one or two?
I don't know. All right, so it looks like quite a few of you have answered. I'm going to go ahead and end that poll and see if I can find our other poll questions because I have a couple more. It looks like 7 of you said that you sometimes watch the trailer. A big portion of you rarely or never watch the trailer. I think sometimes you may not know where to find the trailer in terms of, you know, an author might have a trailer, but you haven't seen it, or you don't know where to find it. Let me just see if I can find my other questions for you. Okay, this is where the rest of the questions are. Let's take a look at these together. So looks like we have the same question again. How often do you watch a book trailer before buying a book? Have you ever bought a book because you saw a trailer that inspired you? And if you are an author, have you created a book trailer? And I did give you a response there in case you don't have a book yet. So I apologize for our technical difficulties with the poll today, but I think that we'll get some engagement and feedback anyhow on these questions. I will tell you that I did not really think about creating a trailer for my book until my publisher nudged me in the direction of creating a trailer for my book. So even though I've worked with authors for a decade, I've always really wondered about the value of a trailer, if it really makes a difference. And maybe you have some of those questions as well. But I can share with you a little bit on this call about how I went about creating the trailers that we created and why we decided to do it. Okay, I'm going to close this up. It looks like, again, similar results on the first question. It looks like about half of you have bought a book because you saw a trailer that inspired you. And of the folks on the call, it looks like only one person on the call has created a trailer. Oh, I will show you those results. It looks like only one person who's answered our poll has created a book trailer. So thanks for that, Aubrey. And all right, so as we get started today, I want to tell you again what I'm going to be doing. My team and I also have created some other content related to book trailers. We have a podcast coming out in a couple of weeks, where I interviewed Colin Hunter. And Colin, if you want to go and look for his book trailer, but not right now, because I want you to be with me here. Colin did this really amazing, like cinematic book trailer that he filmed in Ireland where he lives, you know, the kind of thing that you would make for a movie. And it's really great. And I had the chance to interview him and talk to him about the process and what that was like. So I would encourage you to check out the podcast. It's coming out in 2 weeks, I think, and you'll be able to hear about Colin's journey with his book trailer. So Carolyn and I were talking a little bit before the call about why an author might choose to create a book trailer. And, you know, one thing that you said to me, Carolyn, as we were preparing and as we got to post-production on my finished video, was about the emotional connection that a book trailer can create. And I'm curious, like, in what way you as a producer can like identify which footage to choose to create that emotional connection.
Right. So a lot of times, and I guess it should be mentioned, you know, I was on set, you know, obviously when we shot the video. And it's funny because I guess over the years, one of the things that I've started to feel on set whenever I'm interviewing or conducting some of these shoots, there are like these nuggets, these moments that just feel like that genuine moment of impact where you're like, oh, she said it there. That was it. That's like what I was looking for, right? And so then when you go through the footage and post-production, really what you're looking for are those nuggets, the things that feel like that genuine piece. So like, you know, even though we designed the interview beforehand and put some thought into what is it that we want to get out of this interview for our time with the videographer to be most impactful, I really feel like some of it is, once you have established that, going a little bit with the flow and capturing those truly genuine pieces, as opposed to the pieces that you think you might have wanted going in, right? Like the pieces that I think we wanted, we still got some of those, but we got some really great, like I said, real like nuggets of gold throughout that interview where I just felt like, oh, that connects, that resonates with me, you know, on an emotional level, right? So, and that's really what we're aiming for with a trailer, is making that emotional impact.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Some other reasons people might want to create a trailer is just another way to spread the word about their book, right? So as an author, you do have the opportunity through your publisher to submit a trailer to go on your Amazon book page. And, you know, typically there are some people who would rather watch a video than read the copy on your book page. I know if I'm going to buy a book, I very rarely will read the copy that the publisher puts there, the book description. I might be more likely to watch a video. I'm going to give a shout out. We have a client book launching this week, Simple Truths of Leadership by Randy Conley and Ken Blanchard. So I kind of started my morning today by going to their book page and watching their trailer. And so it's another way of letting people know what they're going to get from your book when they read it. You want the trailer to help people get an idea of what your book's about. So you might create a trailer because you want to reach people, drive interest and awareness. Also, one thing that we found, Carolyn, and I don't know if you've experienced this at all in your business, but we actually have found that a book trailer video of really any like professional level can be a useful tool for social advertising. So a few weeks ago, my team and I launched a book called Smart Leadership by Mark Miller, and we had a number of different Facebook ad campaigns to drive awareness to the title. And it was the video content that performed the best in those ads. So video trailers can be helpful for that too. All right, so now I want to dive in and really talk about the fun stuff. So there's a wide range of possibilities if you are an author who wants to create a book trailer. You can go all the way from you know, the DIY, set up your iPhone, you know, talk to your followers. I mean, even like creating TikTok reels. And after the webinar, I am going to create a list of links of some examples of different types of trailers. But I do have one author, and I don't know if she's here today, Nikki, who put out on her Instagram just the very shortest, briefest TikTok video kind of book trailer. So there's a wide range of possibilities from DIY all the way to a professionally produced video. And so what we did as it relates to my book is we decided that we would do two different approaches so that we could show authors a little bit of what's possible. And so we're going to take a minute to share that with you. So the first video that we want to take a look at together is actually this behind the scenes video. So just to give you a little bit of background, Carolyn helped me with a professionally produced video. That's the one that we're going to watch last. But prior to doing the professionally produced video, I set up in the very room that I'm sitting in right now with a friend. My friend is not anyone with professional training in terms of creating video, but she has done some video in her job. And, we on purpose wanted to assimilate what it might be like for an author who wanted to take a DIY approach. And I realized I need to optimize to share my video clip before I share my screen. Okay, so let's take a look at this together. This is just a very brief video that shows us getting set up to film this DIY trailer at my house. And here we go. All right, so there's a little bit of a glimpse of what we did. And just to give you some background, so we did record this at my house. We didn't use any special lighting. It happened to be just a really beautifully sunny day on the day that we got together to shoot this video. Now, one thing I did do is I borrowed a microphone, because what I found is that when I use my tripod and set up my iPhone, I have an iPhone XR, the sound quality is pretty poor. So we did borrow from our church a little tiny lapel mic, which you'll probably see when we watch that video. I had not very much time. I was trying to squeeze this in between a work meeting and picking my daughter up from school. So my friend Kelly showed up. We had less than 2 hours with arranging the room and getting started and filming. And we probably did, I would say, maybe like 8 takes. So I was reading from a teleprompter. We did it like 8 times. I don't love at all the feeling of being on that iPhone video. I was very uncomfortable. But again, I read a script. And in terms of the expense to have my friend support me, which included her travel time, she billed me for 6 hours at $35 an hour. So this is just about right under $200 to create this video that we're going to watch in a moment. And Lisa is asking what teleprompter I used. And the truth is that I didn't know until that 2 hours that we were pulling everything together that I would even use a teleprompter. And I Googled a free one and just used the first one I found. So I can't tell you the name of the teleprompter, but let's take a look at this video. And, to be honest, I have not actually shared this video publicly yet. We wanted it to look like something anyone could create. And so let's just take a look together. And I don't know if I moved the slide yet. Okay. Oops, nope. Let's try this again. Here we go.
Over the last decade, I've worked with hundreds of smart, passionate people who have world-changing ideas. And I've noticed that everyone wants the same things: to create a larger audience and the biggest possible impact for their message, book, or cause. If this is you, I hope you'll order my new book, Reach. Expanding audience plus lasting impact is how I define reach in the book. But if you're looking for a magic formula, I don't have one. There's no easy path to reach. If you are willing to make a commitment to creating and sharing value through your online presence consistently over a long period of time, with a generous and open sharing of the best of who you are and what you do, you'll create an expanding audience and you'll make an ongoing difference in the lives of others. Would you join me on the journey to create reach?
All right, so there's the DIY version. What we wanted to demonstrate is that, it doesn't have to take a lot of money to create a video that can help reach people with your message. I could criticize myself 10,000 ways over that video, to be honest. But the thing that Carolyn and I talked about as we approached the professional video, which we're going to look at together in a moment, is that I really didn't want that like awkwardness. Like when I'm on camera and I feel like I'm on camera, I do this thing with my eyes, like it doesn't feel natural to me. And so we really wanted to create a video that would show me speaking more naturally the way I might speak if we were having a conversation. So Carolyn, let's talk about this professionally produced video. So as the producer, tell me what you did, and let's talk a little bit about the details. We already talked about on the DIY, it was just a couple of hours, $200, no real special equipment besides the mic. So let's talk about what was different in the professional shoot.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I think there were a couple things going into it. I think having that DIY piece under your belt, I think was a great starting point because there are a lot of things you did right there. You were thinking about lighting. Everybody's got a professional camera in their phone these days. So I think that turned out like as a really strong piece. And if somebody's looking to get started, it's a great way to go. But then when we were going into a professional shoot, what we were really aiming for was something that was more genuine, emotionally impactful, and had a little bit more visual audio impact, I think, than what you have when you're, I mean, you know, it's the difference of being backed by a team versus, you know, handling it on your own, right? I think that is kind of what it boils down to. We had a lot of great brains in the room coming up with ideas about how to make this thing as impactful as possible. People have experience in the space, and I think that really paid off. So we kind of started by, I guess maybe just walk through like the overall process was we started by kind of discussing what we wanted to get out of it. And then I designed a 10-question interview. 10 questions does not sound like a lot, but Becky, I guess I don't know what it felt like to you.
Yeah, you know, I think that I was surprised by how fast that all went, and 10 questions didn't feel like a lot. And I will also say, Carolyn told me I should prepare. And if you know me at all, I know some of you on the call know me. I'm a real like not a huge person on preparation. And I think in a way, maybe that's better because, you know, I did write the book. And so the content is very, very familiar to me. And I think it probably was better that I didn't script out any answers to the 10 questions that you created and that I just went with, you know, what I know and what I'm passionate about and what I'm always talking about. So I didn't prepare. I read the list of questions when you sent them to me, but I didn't prepare in advance answers at all.
That's a great point because I think that comes down to sort of the know thyself rule, right? Like if you know that you will be more genuine and comfortable, like reading through to make sure it accomplishes the goals, but not overthinking it, then that's important going into a video shoot. On the flip side, if you're somebody who is like, I call myself Planny McPlannerson, right?
That's funny.
Like, I feel like it, for me personally, is helpful to go through and plan some of that stuff. And I feel like I'd be like fumbling and stumbling if I didn't do that. So I think when it comes to that sort of thing, when on a video shoot, it's already uncomfortable to be in front of a camera unless you're doing it all the time. Like, most people just aren't super comfortable in that environment because they're not in it every day. So I think the most important thing is to know yourself and to know kind of what you need to do to prep or not prep, you know? So I think you did a great job following your gut there. And I think it really came through on the video, honestly.
Well, and we'll take a look at it in a little bit, but let's talk about, you know, time and money and energy investment in the professional shoot. So amazingly, Carolyn introduced me to her cousin. His name is Deke Ludwig. And I didn't quite like know the family connection at first. So originally what we were trying to do is also make this professionally produced video affordable. And so originally Carolyn was asking me, well, what's your budget? And so I was hoping and dreaming that I could do the video shoot part. And I don't even remember what that dollar number was that we talked about, maybe $500 or $1,000. Well, it turns out actually that the charge for that professional video shoot would be more like $4,000. But for some reason, Deke decided to do it for me for free if I would come to his location at a time that was convenient for him. So when you think about the fact there were two guys on video who volunteered their time in a professional studio with professional equipment and professional lighting, they spent 2 hours setting up and 2 hours tearing down. And I have no idea why they did it for free. So we just have to keep in mind that was like a $4,000 value that I got for nothing in producing this professional video. It was a huge, huge gift.
It also is worth mentioning, it's not like those guys are newbies either. I mean, Deke is a really experienced videographer. And honestly, I'm probably a little biased because he's my cousin, but like, I honestly wouldn't do work with him if his work wasn't fantastic. And so when you were describing to me the mood you were looking for, like kind of a more dynamic lighting setting. I have a couple of videographers but I work with, but I was like, oh man, I just think Deke is probably, because they all kind of, it's like a designer, right? They all kind of have different styles, different approaches. And I just knew that Deke was kind of going to be the best fit. So that's why I ended up connecting us. And then he ended up throwing that out there. It was Christmas season. So we were all like, oh my gosh, that's like the most amazing
it was
thing
such
ever.
it was such a huge gift, and one that I certainly want to be generous to others as a result of, because how crazy is that when someone says, oh, I'm going to do this work for you for that's worth $4,000 and I'm going to do it for free. So we ended up meeting in the evening, and I want to just note that the evening is not typically like my best time for energy. So one of the requirements for me was caffeine. So I made a Starbucks run. I showed up at the studio. They had been setting up. Carolyn was there to coach me. And just to describe the scene, because we don't have any behind the scenes footage of the production of the video, Carolyn was sitting by the cameras and asking me the questions on the interview prep doc. And then I was answering them. And we probably filmed about 2 hours, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think it was just over 2 hours. Yep.
And so, Carolyn, can you talk a little bit about the post-production planning and then what you did once we had the video shoot?
Yeah. So obviously going into it, I think it's important to have an idea of what you want to get out of it. That's the first key to, like, I think, a successful video. So we had that piece in place. I think, Becky, you kind of getting comfortable on set pretty quickly, all of that really contributed to the end product. But in terms of planning post-production, a lot of times, like I said, when you're on that shoot, you kind of are making notes of, like, on these questions, where those nuggets are, where you're like, oh, that was really good. We have to include that piece, right? So from there, basically, it was a matter of going through all the raw footage and cutting out the pieces that I felt like were most impactful. That's always where I start, right? Because it's not about, okay, the formula, what exactly do we want to say? It's what are the things that genuinely connect. And so usually what the footage feed looks like, right, is you've got a bunch of little, like, slices where you're like, yes, this. And then you put all that together and see kind of what sort of story you have once you have all those little pieces. So I would say in your case, I pulled all those little pieces together. And certainly, as you may have noticed, there was significant rearranging of, like, oh, okay, this part happened 2 hours in, but it really belongs best at the beginning, because I feel like she captures or, really captures this idea really well. And so I feel like it will put it at the beginning. So there's no rules in terms of, like, making things chronological. It's really examining those pieces and determining what has the most impact and just building the story off of that. So it's almost like letting the story write itself. And in a way, then, like, Becky, you are the author of that video then, which is kind of more what you want, right? It shouldn't be my voice trying to make that story. It should be your genuine voice, and those things that, like, really resonate should be the thing that is pulling through. And that's, I think, what makes it more genuine.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm watching the time because I do want us to watch the video before we finish the half hour together. So one of the things that I'll say is that originally when Carolyn and I talked about the professionally produced video, we really wanted to produce a 30-second to 1 minute video, more like the length of the DIY. But then when I saw what Carolyn produced, there wasn't really a lot to cut. It did tell a lot of things that I thought were important for readers to watch. And so we did end up producing 2 professional videos. One is the full kind of 2 minutes that Carolyn first presented to me. And then the other one is a minute 45. And we're going to watch the 2-minute version together. I can stay over a few minutes. I don't know if people have to leave at 1:30, but if you have questions that you want to get to, I'm okay with running over a little bit today. And if you've already seen my video on LinkedIn or Facebook, I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind watching it again. But I think in order to help tell this story of what's possible, just before I play the video, I would estimate the total cost if I had paid for the videographers on this finished video to be about $6,000 to $8,000, because Carolyn's part was about $2,000, a little bit more, and she gave me her friends and family hourly rate, which was really generous and kind too. So in terms of, if you go hire a professional video production team, I think you would be spending thousands of dollars, not hundreds of dollars. Does that sound about right?
Yeah,
Carolyn.
just one other super quick thing to mention is I think what you have at the end of the day is worth more than just a trailer video, because while we were on set, we also tried to capture any other video needs that you would have at that time, such as an intro and a conclusion to your video courses. So even though what we have to show today is a trailer, Becky now has color graded footage that she can use for a lot of other purposes at the end of the day. And that's something else to think about going into a shoot too. If you're going to hire a videographer, you might as well get what you know you need while everybody's set up, because half of what a videographer is charging for is that setup and tear down time on top of all the equipment they have, right? So there's some efficiencies to be gained by thinking ahead on that front.
I completely actually forgot, Carolyn, that we filmed. So when you buy my book or order my book, at the end of every chapter, there's a QR code, and the QR code leads you to additional learning resources. And we filmed video that's going to go in that course. And I completely forgot until you reminded me. So that's pretty exciting. All right, so let's take, yeah, I do have it. So let's take a look now at that third video. Oh, nope. Let's try again. Here we go.
Social media provides so many great opportunities for reaching people with messages. What any creator wants is to reach as many people as possible with their message. Online spaces are noisy and crowded. It is simple, but it's not easy. People want a quick fix or a silver bullet, and there isn't one. You know, most of us get discouraged, we get distracted, we have great intentions, and I think one of the challenges is that most of us make the plans and we never follow through. My book is Reach, Create the Biggest Possible Audience for Your Message, Book, or Cause. My title applies to not only an expanding audience, but also lasting impact. What the book really does is encourages people to think about, well, what can I consistently do that's sustainable over time? What are those ways that people who care deeply can connect with their audiences? In my work with authors and thought leaders and creators over the years, what I've noticed is that people have developed a ton of experience offline, but they haven't adequately represented that real-world expertise in online spaces. The only way that you're going to continue to grow your audience and have the impact that you want is to keep showing up. You have to choose to make that investment. When you choose to show up online in powerful ways and share value and content with others, then you're also choosing to make the biggest possible impact for your work as you grow an audience.
So thanks for taking some time to watch that with me. We are getting close to the end of our time together. So before, if you have to leave, I want to just let you know about a few other things really quickly, and then I will stay on a few minutes after if we want to get to some questions. So I do want to let you know that we have some new dates set up for the Reach More Readers Workshop. We've now done the workshop twice, and by far the most exciting part is the connection and community that each group forms with the others who attend the workshop. We would love to have you a part of one of these upcoming sets of dates. So if you're interested in figuring out how to reach more readers, I would encourage you to go and choose some dates and sign up. Also, if you would be willing to pre-order my book, it would help me to reach more people with it. You can pre-order the book today. It comes out on April 19th. And if I can ever be of help to you, you can always email me. I'm Becky@weavinginfluence.com. My cell phone is here. You can send me a text message. I always want to support you in whatever way I can. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and try to look at the chat. And let's see. Just checking the chat. I don't see any questions. I'm willing to answer any. I do see the question about the teleprompter, which I can't unfortunately answer. And there were a couple people put questions in the Q&A.
Yeah.
How much formal production would a trailer need? Catherine, that's a really good question. I think it depends on, on what you're trying to create. So my friend Kelly, who I hired on the DIY video, she did insert the final slide and that other place where there was a slide. So Betty is wondering, do you have any way to track purchases that come directly from your video link? Potentially, if we used a trackable link like a bit.ly link, you might be able to see how many people visit your Amazon page or your bookshop.org or page or whatever. You might be able to track how many people go to your book page from the video, but I don't think you'd be able to track the conversion to sales. I don't think there's any way to track that. Carolyn, if you know something that I don't. And by the way, didn't Carolyn do an amazing job? I'm curious to see in the chat what you thought about the difference between the DIY version and the professional version, because like we wanted to show a contrast, but also like I'm inspired and so in awe of what you did. I think you made it 10 times better than anything I could have dreamed of.
Well, that's like, that makes my day to hear, but also like some of it's just letting the people that you're interviewing, really trying to let them shine. You know what I mean? I thought you did a great job. I mean, you just killed it that day. And I know you were a little nervous at first, and everybody is that way when they first sit in front of a camera, but I thought you warmed up really quickly. You gave some great answers. You were super genuine. Like, I think all of that just really came through. So.
Thanks, Carolyn. That's nice. I'm watching because Maggie had a question regarding Amazon and the YouTube. You can't put YouTube videos. So depending upon, Maggie, if you're traditionally published or if you're self-published, I think you can work with Author Central or Amazon to be able to upload your video, but I think that you have to have the raw file. You can't just link off to YouTube. So I would encourage you to really check in with Amazon Author Central if you're self-published and need support getting your video added. I know we haven't gotten my video added yet to my book page on Amazon because we're having to figure out exactly what files are needed. One more thing, Carolyn, it was kind of a last minute add, the captions on the video. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the reason for putting the captions on the video is for accessibility for people who might be scrolling on social media and they don't want to turn on the sound. So what type of resource would you recommend if someone's doing a DIY video and they still want to caption the video?
Yeah, sure. So there's actually a lot of captioning services out there. So once you complete your video, if you're doing it at home, once you're all done completely, lower thirds are added, you've got your music, everything's done. What you can do is go to, there's a ton of different online services that basically do it. But if you just Google, caption services for video, you can find a ton of them and basically upload them. And just for a couple bucks in 24 hours, you have a copy of your video with subtitles. So that's a great resource too, because it's really inexpensive and really you just have to read through the captions and make sure that they read properly. So it's pretty easy.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, Carolyn, thank you for joining us today. Thanks to all of you who have come today, have engaged with us, have asked questions. I hope that it was useful to you to see a look at what's possible as an author. And just as a reminder, the goal really with the trailer is to help folks become more aware of your book, to help people know what your book is about, and then also to create that emotional connection with your watchers, I guess is what you would call them. So just so you know, my team and I are creating more content to help authors as it relates to book trailer videos. And what we're going to likely do is send out some of those resources to you over time, including the podcast episode coming up with Colin Hunter. Interesting. Thanks, Maggie, for that comment about the backgrounds during the webinar. I appreciate that. So thanks again for coming. I hope we'll see you. I think next month's topic, we're going to talk a little bit about audiobooks, maybe, Aubrey. So we'll be in touch with more about the upcoming webinars. We hope to see you again soon. Bye.